everyone, and welcome to Decoded, a tech-based podcast where we make complex topics simple. My name is Kirsten.
My name is Lwazi Shamase, and we're joined by our esteemed guest, Emmanuel Fousteris.
Thank you, sir.
How are you? So, Kirsten, this is quite an exciting topic you and I are going to talk about.
So excited about this topic. So I'm sure if any of you, everyone can relate to this topic. So have you ever been in a situation where you are maybe in a bad mental state, or something traumatic has happened to you, or something out of your control has happened, and it sent you into a space where maybe mentally you're not so great? I think this is a universal thing that every human goes through. And today's topic is how we can use tech to help you through these extremely tough times. So whether it is that you're going through a breakup, whether you're going through a traumatic death of a family member, or anything else that maybe has just stirred your world a little bit, let's talk about how we can use tech to make these things easier. So the first thing that we want to jump into is AI, using AI as your therapist.
Yes, AI, how nice go-to word. So AI in this sentence, and I would say in this beat, is that since we know there's AI models, as we've discussed in previous episodes, we'll know now it uses natural-based languages. So have you ever had an AI that actually can communicate with you like a normal human, like how I'm speaking to you right now, and you can tell it anything and everything, whether it be advice on a particular situation or a breakup, or just you being in a bad space and you need maybe some words of encouragement? That tool is like having a therapist on dial.
In your pocket.
Yeah, legit,
yeah. Absolutely.
I've actually used this before in a traumatic time in my life. And essentially what I did is I prompted this AI to essentially, I almost trained it up on the situation. So like I told it, okay, XYZ, this is what I'm going through. This is as much background as possible. And I prompted it. I said, listen, I want to understand myself on a deep psychological level on why I did XYZ, why my reaction was XYZ, why do I feel this way now? I want to dive into things like attachment theory. I want to dive into deep psychological topics, and I want you to ask me 10 questions, each question getting more deep, and I want you to ask them one at a time so that I can respond and I can really think about it. So it asked me the 10 questions. And what I did is, like, I didn't want to type this out because I felt like I would make it short.
Agreed.
So I just used the function on your iPhone or whatever where you can do audio to text. So there's a little button on your text and you just talk to this thing.
You just talk to it.
You talk to it like it's your therapist. So like there I am, like bawling my eyes out, like literally telling it
so much context.
I tried to give it as much context as possible.
And that's the thing, you're not being biased about that.
But, so then it kept asking me questions, and it asked me about my own biases. It asked me about like what could I have done here, and it asked me about further questions about things that it kind of had red flagged. And then at the end, what it did is it did a whole psychological analysis.
Right.
And this thing, when I tell you, it was so accurate. Like, don't do this if you are not ready to be self-aware.
Reality check. Please, guys, you have to.
Leave your ego behind.
And pride.
Humble yourself.
Please do.
Because if you've got ego, or if you've got pride, like,
you're going to be hurt.
It's going to hurt you, because it will tell you, okay, this is where you're wrong. And then I honestly was so impressed by the feedback that I got. I said, how are you not an actor? Like, I felt like this thing was real now at this point. So I said, like, how are you not a real person? And it said, well, the difference between me and a psychologist is I have zero biases, and I was
about to add in there.
And this 100% skew any decision.
It doesn't. And from the models I've seen, interactions I've had with those said GTPs, they're on your side, because remember, at the end of the day, it's an assistant tool for you. However, it's not going to be biased against the other person, saying, oh, no, you're right, you must do this, girl, or you must do that, man. No. It will actually tell you, okay, it'll tell you, like you said, things wrong about yourself.
Yeah. it'll say you are the red flag.
Yes,
here.
you're the red
You
flag,
did
yeah.
this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, coming
It'll-
out of the fire.
It'll come with fire, but it
show
won't
you
say
flames.
that. Yeah, it'll show you flames.
It'll tell you nice.
It'll tell you nice things about yourself, but at the same time, it'll say it in such a tone that's a
That's
reassuring
so
tone,
logical.
tone,
Yeah.
but doesn't break your heart. But
Yes.
it says, okay, this is where you are. These are the suggestions that you need to do from yourself going forward. If you want to still get out of that space, repair with that person, it'll recommend those things. Even if things don't work, it'll exhaust every single options before it gives you that negative. What I would even say negative.
Literally,
Yeah.
it wants to find out more so that it doesn't be biased.
Exactly.
100%. And,
Yeah.
and some people even they extract their WhatsApp chats. Okay, so
Oh
like,
yeah.
you know, if you're in that fight, like you're in a fight with a friend, or you're in a fight with your, I don't know, whatever the case may be, your
Significant
boss,
other.
your
Yeah.
coworker, whatever.
Yeah.
So some people, what they've been doing is actually extracting the whole chat and just
Export the chat.
training the like Chat GPT or DeepSeek to give it all the context and to be like, who's in the wrong here?
Who's in the wrong?
Oh wow.
Yeah, and you know what? It will thoroughly, and I'm telling thoroughly, analyze the situation that you prompted in the beginning. What your side of the story, because remember, there's me versus him, or vice versa, versus the absolute truth. It's the mediator here, so it's looking at your side and what it's seeing from conversations. Again, you know, it could even be better if the person was there, or that said situation you're in was there.
Well, it depends, right?
Yeah, it depends.
The
what you
person's
provide
there,
Yo.
Ooh,
might break out into that fight again because there's always three sides
to any
to
truth,
any situation, right?
right?
It's your side, my side, and the truth. And the unbiased decision making that the AIs have is the fact that, firstly, when you, I can't remember which one of you said it, that it'll give you advice and suggestions and give you the feedback you need in a calm, relaxed, very nice manner.
Right.
It's not actually doing that. It knows how you like to be told about things because that's how you've spoken to this model, right?
Agreed, yes.
So these things are very powerful in the sense that they can actually help ease the blow of difficult discussions to the point where it can actually disarm your walls
Yeah.
Yes.
and give you the information you need to make yourself better.
Yeah.
Yes.
And to accept that information not as advice, but as a sort of,
Learning
I
curve.
didn't think about that. So I actually prompted an AI once, and I said, it said to me, a friend of mine sent me the prompt, actually. I can't remember what it was. Basically, it was like, given all the information discussions we've had, tell me about myself and give me the pros and the cons and if there's any suggestions to do better. The one thing it pumped out, and I could not believe this, it said, you are highly indecisive. And I said, firstly, my brother, are you sure?
you have to even address it. Whoa,
And
what
I
are
was
you
like,
telling me
sure?
about?
It's like,
What do you mean I'm not
yeah, I
sure?
didn't even elaborate. I was like, are you sure? It said yes. Not like yes because A, B, C, D, no. It was like yes. And then I said, please, you have to elaborate. He's like, well, given all the discussions that we've had in the past, you've looked into numerous different topics in the last 3 months, never mind the year, 2.5 years you've been paying for your subscription. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was very interesting to the point where I was like, okay, narrow it down to the 3 topics that I've discussed the most, and then tell me which one you think I should go for. It's like, given your past, given what you've done, given your skills and expertise, A, you're great with tech. B, you're good with people. C, try not make big decisions on your own.
You need a manager.
No Ferrari. What you talking?
No Ferrari.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And then that's when I started realizing, I was like, okay, the reality check that comes from these things is that non-emotional attachment to the outcome. If you close the browser, I was like, okay, well.
Okay, well, we're done.
But now it's learned how not
Yes.
to feed you some information.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then when it comes again, and you're like, okay, I've had some time to cool down. In the back of its mind, it's like, okay, human.
Oh, you're back to me again.
Okay, welcome. I knew this would happen. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like honestly, if our data gets leaked on these AIs, it knows too much.
It knows too much. But you know what's interesting? I found about this AI models, especially. I mean, I'm looking. Yeah. I mean, there's basically Wiser. Therapist GTP, even look your regular Chat GTP and Microsoft Copilot, and I just want to do probably a short demo of what we're chatting about, where I'm just gonna put my device near the screen with it open, and I'm gonna ask it, and so that And I encourage people to actually get this because it's actually free, guys. It's actually free.
It's free.
Like,
Why not? Like DeepSeek.
DeepSeek,
It's free.
Chat Copilot for the phone, free. Just sign into your account, you're good.
Correct.
And what I've found about this, it uses. So remember, we've discussed about models and all of that. It uses natural language and cognitive abilities.
Correct.
Hence why I can adjust. And you'll notice if I'm happy like this, it'll respond to me in a happy, natural way.
Yeah.
But if it can sense that you're sad,
Or you're spiraling.
or you're spiraling out of control, or you're angry, it'll adjust its tone accordingly to calm you down or to be sympathetic.
It's a powerful tool because we must remember that all these systems are built in order to help us as humans, right?
Exactly. Assistance, yes.
Correct. Whether people think this is
Replacement.
It's replace them is a totally different discussion. I think it's personally just a case of upskilling and training in order to pivot, like we've discussed in a previous episode. So I always go back to the analogy of the dishwasher.
Hey.
So when I was younger, my mother said, "Why are you always sitting in front of your computer?" I'm like, well, I like it. I'm playing games and I'm producing music and I'm like learning all these cool things online. And when we got internet, well, no one would find me. You would not see me out. Christmas lunches would have to be like, okay, Emmanuel's in his room on his computer. I would have to get locked out of my room in order to go and sit with the family.
My dad used to just turn the Wi-Fi off to get my brother out.
Wow. So the router was in my room. Yeah, no, rookie era for them. But anyways.
Rookie mistake.
They pulled good old muscle and they were like, lock him out of his room. Yeah. So then my mother said to me one day, she's like, what are you doing in your room? I'm looking for ways to make things better and faster so we don't have to keep doing it. She's like, okay, just don't fall into the dishwasher trap. I'm like, what on earth is the dishwasher trap?
Oh.
She's like, well, think about this. When we were younger, we didn't have dishwashers.
Nope.
And then she said to me, well, then the dishwasher got invented, but all I did was wash more clothes. I was like, okay. And
wash
then
more dishes.
Then you wash more dishes, then you wash more clothes, then you spend more time in front of the TV, then your phone's with you now and you can do everything. And we all of a sudden feel like we don't have time to do anything. We've got so many things going on. Oh, but the dishes are done, the washing's done, the house is clean. The kids are dropped off at school, whatever your sort of chore list is.
Right.
But now we still don't have time.
So you like make more.
So you want to make more time, right? You want to make more time.
No, like more chores. Like you make more stuff for yourself.
Oh, so look, I'm not that kind of guy. I want to take
He's
as
just
much of my
correcting
plate. Yeah, I want to take as much of my plate as I can to do the things I want to do. But now the thing is, there are other things that are filling up our time, right?
Right.
Number one, you got social media. Number two, you got going out with friends. Number three, you got ABCs. So we almost feel like we have so not a prerogative, but sort of like an entitlement to enjoy our lives now that these things are done. But we actually don't. Because there's a saying, and I like to live by this quite effectively. It says, good times creates weak men. Weak men create hard times. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. And so the cycle
And then the
continues.
cycle repeats. I love that saying as well.
Correct. And it's always good to keep your head where on the one side, things are great. On the other side, there's always room for improvement, right?
Agreed.
And this is the perfect topic that we're discussing now because mental health is at the forefront of this.
Right.
What are we using these tools for? Are we using them to generate nice images, make ourselves look better, to post online?
Content creators.
So we can feel better
about yourself.
about ourselves, but we don't feel great because
We haven't done
gone
the
there.
self-work.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. You haven't healed your spirit or your soul, whatever's bothering you, and that's a discussion to have with GPT, right?
Yeah.
That's a chat. Exactly.
Why go on my phone so much?
Yes.
Absolutely. But without getting too deep into it,
Yeah.
these tools are also built not just to do cool and fun stuff, but they can actually help us become better people in the long term.
Yeah.
And
Great.
I think the key is where humans and technology now meet in the middle.
together.
Synchronize
Correct.
together.
And we learn how to use these tools as constructive elements. And
Yes.
seeing as the technology is very new, use cases are popping up daily, right? You can go onto YouTube and there's a million things to get through where you can do ABC with these technologies. But a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking to quite high up in an organization. Right. And he said to me, all right, this is what you're going to do. For the next 2 weeks, anything you have to do for work, for private life, anything that you can digitize, go to an AI and do it.
Agreed.
Yeah. And he said, well, don't use it to like have conversations with people unless you try to upskill on your conversational skills. But he says, just try it. Take as much of your plate as you can so you can free your mind, your mind energies and the space in your brain in order to apply yourself constructively to different topics in your life that have either A, affected you, or B, have affected someone that you know.
Agreed. Yeah.
Or masses or whatever. Yeah.
Masses, exactly. And I think we're in a time where, as humans, I don't think we were supposed to take this amount of information. At the same time,
our brains can't handle it. And that's why AI, it's the perfect time.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, for me at least, I feel like there's so much going on in my head and I need to organize this thing. And I almost need this massive processor to help me organize everything that's going on in my head. And the great thing about using a chat bot as your sort of therapist is it's 24/7.
Agreed.
If you want to send a text or you want to ask a question, you can do it right there and then.
Yeah.
You can get your answer right there and then.
Correct.
And I'm not saying that it must replace psychologists because they obviously are so important as well because there's more to the human mind. Like I could be telling you something, but I have micro expressions that are saying otherwise. And that's the human element of why it's important to go to a psychologist. But sometimes when you just need the quick advice and you just need to have an unbiased opinion, it's so useful.
That's very useful.
Before you dive into that fourth packet of biscuits, right? For that comfort eating.
I love biscuits.
The next round of pizzas.
Why am I so hungry and sad?
So before you're sad, No, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yes. And look, I'm going to just do a quick demonstration of it. And I'm using Microsoft Copilot on my phone, right?
Gotcha.
So, guys, there's my phone. I'm going to open the Microsoft Copilot app and I'll press the microphone as Kirsten has mentioned earlier. And is listening.
AI therapy is a game changer, Lwazi, offering mental health support via chatbots and digital platforms accessible anytime, anywhere. Want to dive deeper into this?
Hello, Copilot. Looks like you've been listening to our conversations without my permission. We're talking about pretty much how AI therapy on our podcast with Kirsten Lake and Emmanuel Fousteris. Can you introduce yourself and just give a brief overview of our said topic in one sentence?
Absolutely, Lwazi. AI therapy leverages chatbot technology and digital platforms to deliver mental health support, offering accessible and immediate assistance for emotional well-being. Ready to get into the nitty-gritty with Crystal and Emmanuel?
No. I think that's all we need for you. And that's why we said the agents need some help. Thank you, Copilot. You can rest now.
Got it, Lwazi. I'll step back now.
Lwazi. It needs to work on the names.
It needs to work on those naming models, but
it sounds like a real person, you know, like if you're really going through a tough time and maybe you can't sleep and you wake up at 3 a.m. and, you know, you don't want to bother your family and friends, maybe like to talk to something like that. It literally even pauses like a human being.
Exactly.
Sounds
And you
like
can interrupt it as well.
Are incredible,
Yeah.
Which is great because you feel like you're talking to a human.
Agreed.
Subconsciously, your brain's like, okay, so I can't see this person, but it's almost like I'm on a virtual call with someone and I just can't see them.
Yeah.
Where if you go into a situation and there's a lot of facial expressions, it might skew your representation of the way you're giving that individual information.
Yeah.
So if, for example, if I'm telling you that I'm going through a breakup and I'm smiling, you're like, this is a psychopath.
You'll say, no, this is not all right.
If I tell you I'm going through a breakup and I'm sad and you're smiling, I'm thinking this guy is happy in my demise.
Yes.
Like, who are you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Who are you?
100%.
Yeah.
Now you got a blank face, you've got an expressive voice. And of course, in future, you'll get AI avatars that can adjust themselves accordingly.
Agreed.
In that closed circuit environment where the information you're feeding it is non-biased, no emotion, but it's giving you that facial iteration that we as humans subconsciously crave so much. Animal instinct, right?
Yes.
And I feel that when we can do that, we'll be able to sort of pivot or bridge the gap between emotions and unbiased opinions, because we'll have standard models to do this. And this is all that AI is, right? Currently, it's not artificial general intelligence yet. Whether it's possible, we don't actually know, right? Because all we've done is fed this thing a whole bunch of data points and it's made inferences and understandings of like, okay, this is how it's been solved before. Let's give them this thing and see if it solves the issue.
Exactly. If something new does come up, I'll then attach that model to it.
If you ask an AI to be creative, go home and try it. Say like, be creative within this space. Okay, you're going to get stuff that's already out there.
Yeah.
Where it's going to get interesting is when the general intelligence will kick in. It'll be like, okay, here we go. These are 10 different industries that might be able to pivot off your industry and your, psychology or biomechanical industries that we've all studied, economics as well.
Yes.
So those are going to be interesting times, and we don't know where those are going to go.
Yeah.
But I'm keen to see it.
I'm saying it's keen to see as well.
So we had one other thing that we wanted to talk about just in this podcast. So there's other ways that you can use tech and different types of input to help you through a tough situation. Right. Now, Emmanuel has been telling us about something, I think you said it was light therapy.
Correct.
So can you break that down? Like, what is that?
Yeah, what is light therapy?
How could it help a
Absolutely.
trauma response?
Lovely. So a lot of the times we find that if we try and go and meditate, be more mindful, be more positive thinkers, difficult, right? Because if you're in a low-level state, unless you move your body and actually get yourself out of that space, very hard. So now a friend of mine has started a business company here. There's technology that exists which allows light therapy to essentially, you'll sit under a lamp, it'll flicker at certain frequencies, certain colors to induce a certain state of consciousness in your brain, which has been likened to taking certain stimulants without the side effects, having enlightened experiences, having psychedelic trips, purely from this light, right? And because it's all natural, there's no any chemicals going into your body. So I've tried this once or twice, and now I meditate quite frequently. And what I found was getting to my meditative state while under the therapy took almost a fraction of the time. So I could do the mental work I needed to, as opposed to first calming my body and then moving into that space. And the whole thing around light therapy, it's combined with audio therapy as well. If anybody would like information, feel free to contact me. I can give you the details.
Links in the description.
So there is an element of binaural beats, yes. And those are also adjusted frequencies at different hertz.
Yes.
Where you can tell it. So there is an element of AI that can be fed into that, where it's like, I'm feeling like this. Which program do you recommend? There's multiple light programs, audio programs, light and audio programs. Because the good thing is that it can also tell you, look, you're in a certain state of mind, we don't recommend this program right now. Maybe you just need a relaxation program to first get you in a nice mental state, and then we can take a little journey if need be. So guardrails are being built into these technologies as well.
Yes.
Where it's like, you're going to not be so great in a certain space. Let's put you on a grounded level, and then we can start introducing things. And the light therapy we've seen overseas has taken off immensely, because you literally just sit under a light and you get the benefits of these extended meditation sessions where you get monks in different monasteries sitting for years, like 8 hours a day, achieving those states, although very difficult, where we can bring that tech to the people and help them on that level.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because I think what we need to remember is that at the end of the day, the brain is like a collection of electrical, charges, and it has neurons and stuff like that. And what happens is you have certain brain waves, and within those brain waves, they actually are related to different types of states of mind. So, for example, a beta brain wave is like a quicker type of brain wave. So if you can think of it like when you're in a hospital or something such as that, like the ECG machine.
Yes. That measures your heart,
you pretty much have your waves and stuff. The quicker the wave goes, so that's a beta state. This can either be associated with like an energetic or an awakened state, or it can be also indicative of anxiety. So obviously when you're sleeping, you don't want to have your brain going into a beta kind of waves, right?
Yes, you can't.
So what we're trying to do as humans is trying to find ways to, without, going through thought processes, to actually give ourselves stimulus, because our brain is extremely reactive to stimulus. And there's even an Andrew Huberman podcast about this, where the brain, when you listen to music, it actually lights up the whole brain. So you actually stimulate your whole brain depending on what type of music you're listening to. So now if you are listening to music that's now stimulating these extremely fast beta waves late at night, it's going to make you feel more anxious.
Agreed.
Whereas if you're trying to study and you need to actually be on, it's actually good to listen to that kind of music. And the same with delta brainwaves, so it's like the slowest brainwaves. That has been associated with depression, but it's also associated with sleep. So it depends where you're at, and using AI to help you guide you on what type of program, because if you are already in a depressive state, you actually would want to have beta brainwaves rather than delta because it's going to make you feel more sad.
Yes.
And that's why it's so important as well, if you're going through something, to be so conscious of what type of things are you feeding your brain. Are you listening to extremely depressing music? Do you know what kind of brainwaves or waves, the hertz behind the music is present, and do you know how that's affecting your brain?
That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's vital to keep in mind that use something that you feel has your best interests at heart. Like I've tried this session with the light therapy. I invite you to as well. If you'd like a session, complimentary, please come through. Yeah, and then we can probably give some feedback on that and search other things. You mentioned binaural beats. Yes. I've had good success with that when studying and working.
Yeah, I agree with that. That thing actually works. It really works.
Bring you down, noise cancellers, that's the only thing that's fed in. There's no stimulus there though, because there's no high energy, there's no low energy, there's no vocals, and there's certain things you need to eliminate in order to get the stimulus you desire from these different therapies, correct?
Yes,
and these are without medication.
Yeah,
which
so that's
is
natural.
Which is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I don't know how your system will react, ABC, trial and error.
Yeah. Pharmaceutical people like that. But hey, we're stepping into the good way of integrating tech into other spaces. Twilight Zone. So thank you, Emmanuel and Kirsten. It's very intricate and interesting topic. Now, taking that from AI therapy, we're going to then go into how it can actually be mimicked your conscience into actually the digital realm. My name is Shamase.
My name is Kirsten Lake.
And we're joined by our esteemed guest, Emmanuel Fousteris. And Emmanuel, you have just got...
Decoded.
That's right, Decoded. Check in the next one. Thank you.
Thanks.